Welcome in, everybody. This is your self-care staffing for Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. I am Lou Pascal. I'm the school social worker with the Manchester City Schools in Manchester, Tennessee. Once again, coming to you a little bit later this evening just because of a little bit of a hectic day, but we are going to get this done and it's going to be great. So, this evening, I want to do a little bit of a combo, if you want to call it an episode. I want to do a little bit of a combo episode. I want to talk about assessment, and then I want to do a little bit of a pep talk. So, I think that your self-care is always important, whether you're in the best of times or the worst of times. I obviously want you to be doing good self-care when you are in those times that are really hard to endure. But I also want you to be doing good self-care when you feel like a lot of wellness going on. Number one, because I want your self-care to be a habit. I want it to be something that is such an integral part of your life that it's just something you do. So I want it to be a habit. Number two, I feel like you can sort of build up a reserve for yourself doing that self-care in really good times that will kind of ease you into those times that are a little more rocky. So we have a way to measure that in terms of where we are on some of those terms that we talked about when we first started this series. So burnout, secondary traumatic stress, compassion fatigue, vicarious traumatization. We have a way to measure those things. And the particular measurement that I want to talk about is the ProQual. We're talking about in our working life, in our professional life, that we're making this assessment. And I think sometimes, guys, we just are trying so hard to just handle it and just to get through it that we don't really take the lay of the land on how we're feeling on some of those things. So, the ProQual is the Professional Quality of Life Measure, and it's available online at proqual.org, so PROQOL.org, but of course I'm going to link all of that for you. It is a free measurement, and it's recommended that you take it every 6 months. So I've been taking it every 6 months for probably 3 years. So pro tip for you, go take the ProQual, but also get in your planner, and 6 months from now, write yourself a note to take the ProQual again. School people, I write myself a note at the beginning of every semester to take the ProQual. So I just know I'm going to be doing that in those first few days that school's back in session. So some of the groups that are recommended to take the ProQual, I wouldn't say it's limited to these groups, but these are just some that would benefit from the ProQual. So healthcare professionals, social service workers, so this girl and all my school social workers out there, teachers, all of our educational peeps in the schools, you can take this measurement. Attorneys, police officers, so our school resource officers out there can take the ProQual. Firefighters, clergy, transportation staff, and disaster responders. So we have a lot of disaster responders these days. Locally, we had a tornado in Nashville before the COVID-19 became such a national situation. So we've got a lot of disaster responders, of course, our healthcare workers who are trying to help us get through this pandemic with as little damage as possible. All of you guys can take the ProQual. And it measures those areas that we talked about. And it also discusses some things we don't talk about as much: compassion satisfaction and vicarious transformation. So we talk about compassion fatigue and vicarious traumatization, but it also can give us some idea of where we are on the other end of those spectrums. So that is my recommendation to you, to take the ProQual, and it will kind of give you, I think, 3 areas, and it'll kind of tell you if you're kind of in the average range of what people feel, if you're a little bit lower than what people usually report, or if you have kind of some elevated levels. So that's the ProQual. So here comes your pep talk. Your pep talk this evening is about being your own friend being a friend to yourself, and treating yourself like a friend. And the reason that I want to stress this is because, especially people in helping professions, I think we are so sometimes selfless and so giving of everything we have to everybody else that we do not apply those other things, those things that we give to other people, we don't apply them to ourselves. So we have friends and we know a lot of the things that go into friendship. So talking nicely to each other, to our friends, doing things for our friends, doing favors for our friends, being there to comfort our friends when they're in bad times, being there to celebrate with our friends when they're having really wonderful things happen in their lives. So all of those things go into friendship. And I would say to you this, that you can do all those things and direct those at yourself. And I would encourage you to do that. So my self-care check-in question for you is, what have you done lately to be a friend to yourself? What have you done lately to be a friend to yourself? And if you don't have an answer to that, what could you do to be a friend to yourself? So I'm going to tell you what mine is. What I'm going to do to be a friend to myself is that I'm going to get it together and I'm going to get these videos done earlier in the day. So I'm going to be a friend to me and a friend to you, because I think it goes better when I get it done earlier in the day. So friendship all around. So that's what I'm going to do. And it's not that I think you're being so awful to yourself. I just know how selfless some of you are, and everything that you're pouring out to other people, and then you are just so depleted. And I'm not asking you not to care for those other people. I'm not asking you not to do for those other people. I'm just asking you to direct some of it to yourself so that you can be well also. Okay? And that can look like a lot of different things. And over this series of videos, we'll talk about a lot of different things that can be self-care and things that you can direct at yourself to be a friend to yourself. Okay? So here's some quotes for you. I have a few. So the first one is, why do you go on being unkind and unfriendly to yourself? Why do you go on being unkind and unfriendly to yourself? So that's a little bit of like a exclamation or a rhetorical question, but you can ask yourself, do you feel like you're unkind and unfriendly to yourself? And if so, why? Can you get underneath what is underneath all that does not allow you to have some self-compassion and to direct some kindness to yourself? And that quote was by Mildred Newman and Bernard Berkowitz, and they wrote a book, and it's called How to Be Your Own Best Friend. The next quote is a little bit long, so I'm going to read it to you a couple of times. The only thing you can control is the way you respond. Focusing on things you can't control allows them, those things, to control you. Focus on what you can control. Choose your friends wisely and be a good friend to yourself. So we'll do it one more time. The only thing you can control is the way you respond. Focusing on things you can't control allows them, those things you can't control, to control you. Focus on what you can control. Choose your friends wisely and be a good friend to yourself. And that was Ryder Carroll, and he wrote a book called The Bullet Journal Method. So if you've heard of Bullet Journal or Bujo, he is the one that came up with that method, and he wrote a book about it. And then another one is treat yourself like someone you love. Listen to what you want and need and give it to yourself. Be your own friend. And that is Glennon Doyle Melton from Love Warrior. And I know if I asked you all, you could instantly bring someone to your mind that you really love. And I guarantee you that you know what that person wants and needs, and you spend a lot of time making sure that person has what he or she wants or needs. And I just would encourage you to get to know the same things about yourself. What do you want and what do you need? And give those things to yourself. So, this evening, for laughs, I went back again to my YouTube favorites to find something that might be amusing to you all, and I found something, and this is like way back on way on back in the files because these were 2010, 2011, and 2014. So it's a series of videos, and it's called Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And you'll just have to watch it. But Marcel the Shell has some really good self-talk, and he's talking about one of his characteristics in the beginning of the series. And he says, I like that about myself, and I like myself, and I have a lot of other great qualities as well. So some good self-talk coming at you from Marcel the Shell. And I'm super impressed that I was able to get through all that without mixing up Marcel the Shell in my wording. So, snaps for Lou. Marcel the Shell is also 2 children's books. So if you are over the moon about Marcel the Shell, 2 children's books also. So go watch that, and I'll link all that for you. And then lastly, our song of the day. We're going to go a little easy listening, a little light rock this evening. And the song of the day that I'm going to recommend to you is James Taylor, You've Got a Friend. So that's a little mellow for you at the end of the day. So if all hearts and minds are clear, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take good care.